So in this video, we're now going to sort it so that when the character collides with the right target, the animation plays and he pauses, etc. But if he collides into the wrong target before reaching the right target, it does nothing. Okay, so first of all, I've renamed these target cubes, placing a 1 before each target cube. So that's just simply a case of clicking on there and just typing a 1 before target cube for each of them. The reason why, obviously we've got 6 enemies, so eventually that number is going to work its way all the way up to 6. So we know that these belong to enemy 1. Okay, so enemy 2 will have 2, target cube 3, etc. Okay, so just rename all of those targets, and as we can see on the enemy script, they just update on there to reflect that. Okay, so then open the script, which is the enemy move, and what we need to do is basically compare the name of the object which we've collided with the name that we've given it to ensure that it's the correct one. Alright, so there's a few steps in order to do that, but before I start I can see that this is getting a little bit messy at the top here, so I'm actually just going to clean this up a little bit. So I'm going to leave myself a note. So serialized fields are basically I'll put visible in the inspector, because that's what they do. They're basically anything that's serialized shows up in the inspector, as we can see there. Okay, all of those are there. So I'm going to make sure that they're all connected. So I'll just edit and cut that one, Control X. Let me just put it up here, so edit and paste so that we keep them all together. Now all of these below are private, so these ones are invisible in the inspector. So we can't change those inside of the inspector, we have to change those in the script. Now it's necessary to do that because obviously we don't want to be messing with any of these things. These are all internal, if you like. Okay, so what we need to do then, we need to create a few more elements that are visible in the inspector. So it's serialized field. Just start typing it and it will auto complete when you press enter. Serialized field, it's going to be an integer, and we're going to call it enemy number. Now if I save that, and when it updates, now we have an enemy number. Default is 0. Now because this is enemy number 1, we can obviously just type 1 in there. If this was enemy 2, you type 2, etc., so that you can identify which enemy we're working with. After all, we're going to be applying the same script to multiple enemies, so we need a way to detect which enemy it is. Now I've noticed that this current target is serialized. We actually don't need that to be serialized. It'd be better if it was private. So let's do that, because we never need to change that. That's an internal thing that only the script needs to change. So let's just cut that and let's put it down here in the invisible section. Great, okay. So we've done that now. So now we need to basically store the names of the objects. These are going to be stored as a string. Okay, a string is basically a piece of text. So let's do that. So I'm going to serialize these for now so that we can see them in the inspector. I'm going to make them private later. Okay, so this is a type string. Make sure it turns blue, and then obviously it recognizes it as a class system. And we're going to call this one target name. Okay, so that we can store the target name. I'm going to do the same thing again, serialize. This one is once again a string, and this is going to be target descriptor. And we'll see how this works shortly. Okay, now we're not going to put in any default values because obviously we've not got any yet. We're going to let the computer do that. So under the void start, because we know that the very first target is going to be target number 1, what we can write is target descriptor equals, now we need the enemy number, so that will tell us which enemy it is, plus, and then we have to literally hard code the name of the target. Okay, so the first target is 1 target cube 1, and it, whoops, it's updated there, and it needs to be spelled exactly the same. Okay, so 1 target cube 1 needs to be spelled exactly the same. If it makes it easier, what we could do is simply double click, whoops, maybe there we go, triple click then, so that we get this, and then we could do Control and C to copy if you want, or you could just type it in. Alright, so I can do Control and V if you like. Alright, it does turn red, which is fine, it just shows that it is a string value, and then we're going to put a semicolon on the end. Alright, now if I save this and click back on enemy 1, nothing happens yet. These two are blank, but when we actually start simulating, it will run that, and the target descriptor will come up as 1 target cube 1. Okay. Now, we have to leave that one off there. The target cube 1, because each enemy will have a different enemy number, we need to leave that off. Okay, so for example, if this was enemy number 2, that would be 2 target cube 1. Okay, so when you're hard coding, leave off that initial value. Alright, because effectively what we're doing, we're concatenating this. So this will automatically read 1 target cube 1. Okay, now whenever we do this on trigger enter, alright, we compare if the tag on the actual object, which is the trigger, shows up as enemy target on the tag. We also need to check its name. Alright, so this is where we're actually going to compare. So what we're going to type is target name equals other, which is the collider there, other, dot get component. The component we need to receive is the collider, so we're going to talk to the collider. And what we need to receive from the collider is its name. Okay, then we need to ask ourselves a question. If target name is equal to the value of target descriptor. Okay, if that's the case, then we can run the rest of this code. Now we do need to contain this within the curly brackets. So whenever you click on one of these, bear in mind the connecting one goes grey. So we need to contain all of this. So I'm just going to press enter and place in a curly bracket. There we go. So as long as the names match, then we can run all of this code. If the names don't match, it ignores all of this and the rest of the code does not run. Let's save this. Okay, now comes quite a bit of typing. So whenever we run this move to target, and if current target is equal to the value of 1, target position equals target 1, and now we need to set this target descriptor. We need to hard code it so that it's aware of what the target cube is actually called. So target descriptor equals enemy number. I spelled that wrong, done something there. Enemy number plus, and then we need to do a string reference, and obviously it is the same as this, so target cube 1. Okay, target cube 1, and obviously put a semicolon on the end. So obviously we're updating that target descriptor to the correct target. Now let's just highlight that. We're going to do edit, copy, and then all we need to do now is just paste. And all we need to do is just update this number. So that's 2. Control and V as a shortcut to paste. That is number 3. If you're on a Mac, it might be slightly different, but it will show you the shortcut under the edit. It will show you whatever the shortcuts are. So this is number 4. This is number 5. Now obviously you can do this yourself, that's fine. I'm just very quickly going through this. So as you can see, although there's quite a bit of typing, it's pretty easy because we can just copy and paste. Now as you notice, this script is actually now getting quite large. It started off relatively small, but as we're adding new parts to it, it's getting bigger and bigger. So when you see those scripts that are absolutely massive, that are huge, they don't start off that way, they become large over time. Okay, so every time that the target changes, so does this target descriptor, so that the computer can then check that the target name and the target descriptor are the same.